Quest for Glory is a series of hybrid adventure role-playing video games which were designed by Corey and Lorianne Cole and published by Sierra Entertainment. The 5 games in the series were released over a period of 9 years, beginning with Quest for Glory 1, So You Want to Be a Hero in 1989, and ending with Quest for Glory 5, Dragonfire in 1998. Over the course of these adventures, the hero would interact with personalities from exotic lands. These side characters would provide a soft introduction to the setting and culture of the game to come. This narrative choice is a great way to hook the player into investing in the next story. The hero makes a connection to these characters and then by extension the place where they come from. During the first game, the hero meets the Kata innkeepers and their friend Abduladu from Shapir. In the second game, we meet Uhura, the Simbani warrior woman, her infant son Simba, and Rakesh, the Lion Tor paladin from Tarna. Rakesh and Uhura journey with the hero from Shapir to Tarna in a similar fashion as the Katas and Abduladu. Since the third game was not in the original plan for the intended 4-game arc, I'm not positive that traveling with side characters was supposed to become a pattern. At the end of the second game, after the credits, we are told that the story will continue in Shadows of Darkness. But as any Quest for Glory fan knows, the third game was not Shadows of Darkness. The Coles felt that the hero was not seasoned enough for the challenges of a vampire-filled Mordavia, so a bridge game was developed called Wages of War. The original concept was broken, and the story of the hero would now be told over the span of 5 games. Originally, each game was designed around a cardinal direction, classical element, season, and mythology. So You Want to Be a Hero was set in the north and associated with the element of earth. The season was spring, and the mythology was Germanic. In Trial by Fire, the setting was the Shapirian Desert to the south. The central classical element was fire, the season was summer, and the mythology and culture was Middle Eastern. Shadows of Darkness was modeled to resemble Eastern Europe. The element this time was air, the season was fall, and the mythology was Slavic. Finally, in Dragonfire, the direction was west, the element was water, the season was winter, which makes no sense, but okay, and the mythology was Greek. I've decided to share a personal story relating to Quest for Glory and Dragonfire specifically. I love all things fantasy and medieval, so back in the 90s, I decided to join a reenactment group. The SCA was a modern take on the Middle Ages and Renaissance period of history. People would create a persona from an era they gravitate towards, and then they would make or purchase clothing and armor to complete their immersion. When I started out, the concept wasn't immediately obvious to me, so I decided to dress up like the hero from Quest for Glory. I didn't really have a medieval persona mapped out, so I just did cosplay before it was even a thing, or at least to my knowledge at the time. So I made a vest and boots out of leather, found a pair of green pants and a white shirt, and bought a red cloak and a sword. I had a great old time playing make-believe along with the other newbies who were doing the same thing as me. It was a whole mess of nerds with katanas, rapiers, and longswords slung through our belts or sheathed in scabbards. I was the hero from Spielberg for a while, but eventually the fantasy of being in my own Quest for Glory analog ended. As the years in the society passed by, I eventually developed my own 12th century crusader persona and forgot all about being the Prince of Shapir. During one event, close to when I stopped my involvement with the SCA, I finally did get to be the hero. Sort of. Although it is only now, 20 years later as I write this script, that I made the connection and realized that it had happened. It isn't epic stuff or anything, but for some reason it feels somehow full circle to me. The SCA is an acronym for something else, but for many of us we called it the Society for Consenting Adults. So after the sword fighting was finished for the day, everybody showers up and the debauchery begins. My friend and I roll up on this cute girl, and both of us begin the tug of war for her attention. At some point she mentions that she is Greek, or at least speaks it, so naturally the D20 is rolling around in my head. Known languages. I must have rolled high because out popped Kalimera, Kalispera, Yassas, Paracalo, and Efaristo, to name a few. It wasn't much, but it was enough. As soon as she heard the words, her eyes became as big as dinner plates. You can speak Greek, she says, so I respond, well, that is definitely an interesting story. At this, I walk her away to a private corner so I can tell her my story. Over my shoulder, I watch my friend shake his head in disbelief, and then he goes back out on the prowl. As stated earlier, Quest for Glory 5 Dragonfire had a Greek setting. Many of the NPCs would say lines of Greek dialogue when you interacted with them. I had played and replayed this game many times in the years before my SCA days. I couldn't even remember what the English translations meant, but the cadence of the Greek words and phrases came flowing back exactly when I needed them to. I finally did get to be the Quest for Glory hero after all. I used my Silmarian Greek to get the girl. So thank you, Dragonfire. You helped me complete my quest with the highest possible score. Okay, back to Quest for Glory. The first 3 games had little nods to the settings of future games salted throughout. The only mention of Mordavia in Quest for Glory 3 is a comment about the exchange rate. Silmaria is mentioned in several of the games, so it was obvious that the hero would go there at some point. So if I'm going to use in-game evidence to determine the setting of a sequel, we need to look at some of the side characters. Braugi is a frost giant from the eternally frozen lands of Jotunheim that the hero meets in Quest for Glory 1. He is a strong contender, as we have a direction, mythology, setting, and season. As a point of interest, a fan game called Heroine's Quest was developed that is set in Midgard during the Fimbulwinter and leans heavily into Norse mythology. It is a fantastic game that pays heavy homage to the playstyle and sensibility of the Quest for Glory series. This isn't a sponsored video, but I highly recommend that you try it if you love these kind of games. But let's consider some other characters. Centaurs are found in Spielberg, Shapir, and Silmaria, but no definitive homeland for them is mentioned in-game. The hero also meets 4 gnomes over the course of the games, but we never learn if they have a singular homeland either. Connected to the gnomes, there are mentions of dwarves in Quest for Glory 1, 4, and 5. They are supposedly greedy, they mine for gold, they have no sense of humor, at least according to Punny Bones. And then there are also minotaurs in Quest for Glory 1 and Quest for Glory 5. But I think it's highly likely that minotaurs come from Silmaria. With all that said, I have reserved the best possibility for the final spot on my list. In the vendor area of Silmaria proper, there is a Kata family selling food, jewelry, and flute music. There is the Liontar wizard Shakra, who is the son of Rakesh. There are 2 humans, Salim and Julinar, that offer healing and potions. Finally, we have the humanoid canine Punjabi from India, named Wolfie, who sells paintings and amphora. Not to be confused with the dogman that is in Quest for Glory 3, named Kalb, but he says that he is descendant from pharaoh dogs before the change. Activision now holds the rights to this series, so I don't think we'll ever get a Quest for Glory 6. However, following the clues and cues from the previous installments, I think a confident case can be made for Inja as being the next logical sequel setting suggested by the games. But what do you think, viewers? What setting and culture would you like to see the Prince of Shapir explore next? The frozen mountains of Jotunheim? The underground halls of the dwarves? Perhaps the colorful cityscape of the gnomes, or the mysterious jungles of India? Please let me know in the comments section below. Until next time.